Hey, what's up?
What up, brother?
Nothing much. Just a rainy day. What about you
Florida,
guys?
good. Florida needs the rain, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I got feedback. I got to mute. There we go. Okay. Sorry.
Hopefully it was good feedback.
Yeah. There's good kind and the bad kind. Which is when
Give
you
me
hear
some good
yourself
kind,
talk.
Anthony. What's going on in the rooms?
I think everybody's on vacation. It was not. I don't think there's anything real spicy going on. I have some of my own sort of crusades I'm on, but here's one.
Well, we
up?
have some time. Go ahead.
New study today said cold water baths that people like to do have a potentially negative side effect. They increase. It says participants consume significantly more food following cold bath exposure. So
shrinkage.
Yeah, that too. That's what they said. So Costanza.
First time caller, long time listener. Can neurofeedback help with shrinkage?
Yeah, that would be something. We need a Costanza to call in, or a Kramer.
That'd be kind of funny, Anthony. If you had to take each character on Seinfeld and you did an EEG on them, what would the cues look like?
Personality disorder. It'd be frontal slowing.
Wait, go. Start with Kramer.
He's going to be schizophrenic or schizotypal or something, given to, which I think is I think it's like too little gamma or too much or something. And then yeah, they're all going to be narcissists though, because that's what Jerry said the show was about. It's about, that's why it doesn't end well for them. They go to prison.
It was a bad ending anyways.
Yeah, people didn't like it, but I think the whole point of that, people wanted him to end up with Elaine, but he said, and I think it's obvious the whole point of the show is that they're bad people. Like, it's not, the point of the show is not be like us. It's they're always, dumping people over the size of their hands, or
man hands,
clothes talker. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's going to be an OCD. There you go, OCD pattern and some neuroticism. So that's my guess. So that's an interesting question.
Well, let's go through all the sitcoms and the QEEGs of the sitcoms of the stars.
Yeah, do you watch a lot of TV, or?
I did, of course I did. I watched Seinfeld all the time.
Yeah.
And now, what about The Office? You got any Dwight Schrute?
Yeah, he's gonna be a psychopath, dark triad they call it.
Dark triad. What's a dark triad?
And it means psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism, and they're all correlated, is why. And then Michael Scott is going to be slowed alpha because he's really dumb. This is we could probably get in trouble even for, I don't know. People frown on this, don't they?
He's very creative, though, isn't he?
What'd you say?
He's very creative, though, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I only watched it because a girlfriend made me watch it, so I just remember him saying dumb things and nobody appreciating anything. Doing always the exactly wrong thing. But maybe he's creative in a crazy way then. So.
All right, give me another series or a character on The Office. Go.
Well, what is it? Jim and Pam are going to be a little more agreeable or something. So they're going to be, I don't know. This is interesting. It makes you think the connections.
Like
another
Kevin
guy asked me what neuroticism is on the EEG, and I have some theories, but I'd need to go look that up. And
go ahead, look it up.
Yeah. So Well, Jay chimed in. I think I have actually looked that one up, and there's not a lot of good info. So, but with Google's AI answers and stuff like that, it's getting a little better. Let's see here.
Yeah, how is Google's AI?
It's the best one.
Is it really?
Yeah, because here's why. They put their sources right in the answer, and you can click it. And basically, if I can't click the answer, I don't believe it, because I've seen too many times AI have a wrong answer. So I almost don't. If you want to have a conversation, I get it. But if you just want the right answer, you use Google's. And a third-party testing has determined that Google's is the most accurate. So yeah, I highly, their search, specifically the search answers. What'd you say?
I said, what party?
What party? Well,
what third party said that Google is the best?
Yeah.
Alphabet?
Yeah, I mean, just try it. I mean, yeah, okay. They all say they're the best, but just try it out. It's the Google search answers, though. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's the one that I don't really use other AI. I don't really need. I have enough people saying things to me that are unsighted, unsourced, that I don't need anymore. Also, the other thing, EEG is pretty niche. Like, it's a pretty small group of us. And even the people writing the studies don't really understand it. Jay has to call them out all the time. So when you become a grad student, there's not really like a class in EEG. My guess is you kind of learn what your supervisor knows, your graduate supervisor, the professor, and you know what he's read. And that's what you know. And you don't really do, like, they don't go to an EEG training the way and that's not to say there's no value or anything. I'm not trying to sound too arrogant here. But I just know that they misinterpret a lot of findings, at least according to Jay and the other authorities. So
okay. So what else is going on in the news?
I don't know.
Poor mental health is driving young people out of their jobs.
Yeah, there he is. There's Radar. So what's Radar being curious about? He's always got
Josh is on the couch. Somebody wake up Josh.
I texted him because I was looking for the link. So hopefully he knows.
Here, I'll just put my little link here. Radar, why don't you be a panelist, man? What's going on? What's floating your boat this week?
Radar, I think he said that he prefers to remain anonymous, so to speak. But maybe we'll luck out and he'll join.
Well, what is he, the guy on MASH?
The guy in the I didn't watch that one, but I can imagine.
You didn't ever watch that one episode of MASH?
I did, but it was, it was when I was a little kid, and that was a little over my head at the time.
Never mind. Reruns don't exist in your world in Florida. Radar's at work. All right, we won't tell your boss, Radar.
I hear you, Radar. Okay. So, yeah, the kids are not all right in my book. Speaking to your article,
yeah,
Pete, I'm not too excited.
MASH is always on when you're at your grandparents' house.
He's funny. Yeah, I could remember it coming on when you're home from school, kind of thing, early or something, and it's like, this is my cartoon time. I don't know what this is doing on when you're a little kid, Josh says he's at a doctor's appointment, or he's stuck at one or something, he says. So
that's right, Josh.
Sorry, Ash, maybe I shouldn't have revealed that. He's dealing with something routines, he says. So
HIPAA.
Yeah.
Okay. So Anthony, let me tell you what's going on in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
we got really bad cell coverage here, and
same here. Go on.
We're trying to put up a cell tower.
Cool.
Well, not really, because you get the 5%ers out there that are saying, "Oh, the 5G is going to kill you" and all that, and with all of the nasty things that you can be worried about, a cell tower is
right.
The kid holding a cell phone in their hand is more dangerous than standing next to a tower.
Yeah,
have you run into any problems with that trying to get a cell tower or hearing cell towers are dangerous?
What I have heard, actually, so we have trouble building them in our community, and I know some people on the city commission, and the real reason that I hear, so they use the environmental laws because there's a law called NEPA, National Environmental Protection Act. Basically, it says that basically any citizen can stop any development project in this country and ask for a review, and the review can take months to years. And my understanding is that's how they block a lot of housing developments in this country. But the city commissioners, I know, they said this because I have a big problem here too. They say it's about environmental, but really it's about, they think the tower will reduce their property values. And so all of that is just a smokescreen for stopping somebody from building anything. Yeah.
So I guess the key word is ionization, because like a microwave, that heats stuff up. That's dealing with,
I wouldn't even listen to him. I don't ever, that stuff. It's always, well, Dr. Jamirez in Tampa said this. It's like, you can find a lone doctor to say anything. It's like, and then they'll say, well, it's hard to get good studies. And it's like, well, I don't know why I should listen to you. It gives me sympathy for the people doubting neurofeedback a little. It's like, why should I listen to you then if your data is no good? So
yeah, show me more data.
I'm sorry that's happening. That's a shame. Oh, I will tell you, Pete, I hear a friend of mine did this. There's apparently a device that you can get for your home to increase your cell reception. And I think businesses can get one. I think it's called a femtocell. It's a weird name, but see if you can look it up. Maybe it's called a repeater or something like that. It might be I know you're trying to get a tower probably for other reasons too, but maybe there's a low cost way to get you more signal. I just wanted to mention it.
Well, it depends on your provider, and depends where the cell, like it's on a water tower and they don't have the antennas up there and you run into that issue. I'm starting to get to know cell towers a little bit more than I want to.
Yeah. But, so it's called a signal booster, and you can get them for $100, $90 on it. And maybe they differ in quality, but yeah, I'd just be curious. I mean, you can let me know if you want me to look up what's good for your provider or whatever, but I won't force you to,
160-foot tower. That's what's good. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Because you got these people that, NIMBY's not in my backyard.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. Yes. Mm-hmm.
They'll say, you know what? I'll drink your milkshake. I'll suck my service up your tower, and then we get nothing. But I mean, you get dead spots, emergency services.
This is like a daily. Our office is situated. It's not far. 300 feet away from the road. But as soon as you get into our parking lot, you lose all signal. So, and we're on Verizon, we're not on the Hokey. So I feel your pain. We talk about this stuff every day. Radar says, what happens if you get cold feet during or after training? I can't speak.
Turn up the heat.
I do. It does make me wonder, Radar, could you be training the wrong way? And the reason I say that is cold feet is like a symptom of peripheral neuropathy, which is a very common among two people, diabetics and alcoholics. And my understanding is I get a sense if you're making progress on your neurofeedback training, that you may see that improve. But if you feel like it may be getting worse, even temporarily, again, this is a big if, but it might mean you're not training the right, for your EEG, basically. It's not, the training is not a good fit.
Well, if you're getting cold feet, hold on. Is that, it's drawing blood away. So is that a stress response? You're like, what's going on?
I imagine there's something with your losing your blood, like if you're out in the cold. But people with peripheral neuropathy, their limbs get very cold, and it has nothing to do with blood flow. It's the nerves. The connection between the limb and the brain is being degraded, and it starts imagining a stimulus. As my sense, Jay's talked about it on the podcast. Yeah, sympathetic activation probably is right, and Pete is right. That probably blood flow is going to be included in that. But yeah, he says, I suspect I have minor neuropathy. Yeah, so I would be a little bit careful, and it's good that you're being careful. Because definitely you don't, neuropathy is something that is hard for people to deal with. And if you can prevent it from, getting there or getting worse, that's wise. So good luck with that. And maybe I'll ask around for you about that one. It almost makes me curious if you're doing a form of alpha training. For some reason, I associate that with sympathetic activation radar, but I
Jay
may
Hahn's
be
helping
wrong.
us out here.
Yeah. He says cold feet due to sympathetic activation, just like increases skin temperature to increase parasympathetic tone. Yeah. The changing your temperature biofeedback, that does change your EEG. So I'm sure there's a connection. Actually, I had a guy, my friend Alex Sanchez at Central Florida Biofeedback. It was just the other day, this weekend, I think, that he said, if you're wear a biofeedback sensor during your neurofeedback, and if your limbs, a temperature sensor, and if your limbs are getting hotter, he says that's generally a good training sign. He says that's a good sign. So the fact that yours are getting colder, maybe that's the wrong direction, but I don't want to be too certain here.
Isn't that a good hook to give somebody a thermometer and say, "Hey, sit there, and I want you don't get up till you lower your temperature 2 degrees."
He's even got the sensor that he likes to use for it. Let me see if I saved, should have saved the name. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not finding it right now. Shucks. He says
this
maybe my SMR was too high. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, and I worry sometimes when the SMR is not tweaked just right. Is it catching some alpha? But again, I could be totally wrong. I just wonder sometimes, because they are so close to each other. I know Dr. Hill says when you train at the motor center, you don't have to really worry about raising alpha there, but could that be for everybody? Maybe some people need to worry. I don't know. But yeah, I hope one day Radar can get, and obviously no pressure to Radar, but I hope one day he can get a QEEG, because I think he mentioned that he hasn't pursued one right now. But if you do, I think it could very well help you with some of your training. I know, answer some of these questions you have. Tell you which way is the right way for you. So
I wonder if the training was activating, calming. What was he trying to do with the training? It depends. See, I can do this by myself.
Yeah. He says he'll probably get a Q this year. Yeah, it's fairly important. I think there's probably some things that you can do. There's going to be people who hate me for saying that, but I've had recently, all my friends have had success with frontal suppression, and not all of them have had EEGs. And by the way, I know Radar, I know that was not helping you. So this isn't for you. Just so you know, that's up to you, kind of thing. But recently, a lot of friends, I was going to save it for maybe when Josh comes on, but I think I literally had 4 friends tell me in the past week that they are sleeping so well now from frontal suppression at FC, so broadband inhibit. They literally, they all said, yeah, I slept 8.5 hours 3 times this week. That was literally multiple people told me that about the last week. They started training about 2 weeks ago. So, and I think Jay has said most people would probably benefit from SMR and theta down. So, you know, I think probably Jay grants a little bit of that. Yeah. So it's, I think Radar's, hopefully he heard me, that he's asking which frequencies and sites, and I think this one didn't work for you, Radar, but it's broadband inhibit except SMR, leaving, you're not inhibiting, you're inhibiting everything but 12 to 15. And to be honest with you, that's usually what you're doing in Jay's. I don't want to speak for always or anything, but very often, if there's frontal slow waves, you suppress them. If there's frontal fast waves, you suppress them. And you leave the SMR frequencies alone, you know, or you train them up in the motor center. And that's kind of, there's going to be, you know, there's going to be exceptions to that. But that seems to be a good. I met a clinician. He told me, he said, look, I've been doing this for 18 years now. He said 90% of problems are fixed by SMR and squash. And squash is a broadband inhibit. He's like, I've seen this fix the majority of people. Now, I'm not telling everyone that that's going to fix their problem. And I wouldn't do squash. I would leave a window for the SMR. Like, you're not suppressing SMR. But my point is just, there do seem to be some trends. So
sleep friendly suppression, frequencies
I like it.
To calm. High beta 2230.
Who's this?
This is just Pete going off of his screen. High beta linked to anxiety, hypervigilance, and insomnia.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Target for suppression. Beta 13. Go ahead.
No, 13 to what? I mean, I've never seen somebody get benefit just from high beta down. Not yet. I haven't seen that personally yet. So that sounds like the whatever you're reading, probably Grok or something, it's got more tips or something. Why would you leave an SMR window at FC? I think the idea is, well, first of all, there is a study, I think, by Martijn Arns that says that a lack of SMR at FZ, it's not just CZ, but at FZ as well, causes insomnia. So if you don't have SMR at SZ, I think I actually have met clinicians that train SMR sometimes at FZ if CZ does not work. And if you look into it, there are at least two forms of sleep spindle. There's a fast and a slow. And I think the one that is frontal is the slower one. But you're supposed to have sleep spindles in both places. But I think the reason that Jay leaves it open is that SMR represents blood flow. And I'm just guessing because I don't have him here. I'm wondering if when he doesn't, because I don't think he tends to suppress SMR frontally. And so I wonder if he leaves it because if you suppress that SMR, you might also suppress blood flow. And I think the idea is that blood flow supports healing. So, you know, that's what I think. But I can say for sure that I know a good amount of people now that have really had a lot of benefit from doing the protocol with the SMR window. So, you know, there you go. But obviously the PC answer is get a QEEG, work with a clinician, and be careful and listen to your symptoms, you know. So yeah, Radar says, so the way he says reducing anything above 11 hertz will reduce perfusion, which is blood flow. And I think what Jay would say to that is 12 to 15 hertz, which is the SMR low betas like range, that represents a light positive perfusion. So it's a little bit of extra blood flow. And I think what he would say is, or the sense I get, anything above that 15 hertz, that starts to be hyper perfusion, which is a great excess or a large excess. I think there are clinicians that will raise that low beta or that kind of 16 hertz area beta. I've never done this. I don't know for sure that people do. I think sometimes people will raise that if the patient is under aroused, but I've never heard of anyone raising anything above, you know, the teens, let's say. And I think part of the idea is that's too much blood flow. And it makes sense because beta, to my knowledge, is associated with your brain is really aroused and alert and hyperactive. And a lot of people's problem is that their brain is too hyperactive. So you generally don't want to raise that just because that would get you more blood flow. I think the idea when Jay is using, or when they're using SMR for blood flow, it's because they want a little extra blood flow. They don't want a ton. That's my blood flow understanding right now.
Well, here, let's get some keywords out into the algorithms. Reasons you might leave an SMR window at FC. Targeting sleep or arousal regulation, big surprise. SMR is often associated with calm alertness and motor inhibition.
I like it. That's actually a decent answer.
You like that? Good. If there's midline overactivation, especially high beta at FC, increasing SMR can reduce hypervigilance or quiet the anterior cingulate cortex.
Man, that is so that's actually saying that you may need to reduce SMR is what I'm hearing.
Can be used in sleep onset protocols. Here, to suppress frontal beta, high beta, in anxious or ruminative clients, you got the recurring thoughts. FC often shows excessive beta, 13 to 21, and high beta, 22 to 30.
Yeah. So I don't want to. Okay, the fact that I don't think that Jay tends to suppress SMR up there makes me real hesitant. But I am open to suggest it. But I am open to the idea that there are people that have too much of it potentially. I think part of the problem is I think SMR is, my understanding is, it's hard to measure, because in general it's mainly firing during sleep, and so I think it's a little bit hard to measure. But I could be off on that. So anyway,
well, I'm typing my question now for Jay.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's good. And Pete, so this is was that Grok?
It's both.
Which
everything except Google. I wonder what Google's got to say.
Yeah, you could try it out. I think that's incredible. It's literally somewhere online has talked about this stuff, which almost surprises me, because like if I was to Google about this stuff, I feel like I'd have trouble finding it. Like if you Google,
well, you'll get lost in the rabbit hole.
You're going to get 50 papers.
Yeah. And
so this has filtered it, and it understands your question enough to know you're talking about neurofeedback only. Like it's crazy. That's really incredible. So
well, it's also, I've uploaded all my podcasts. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That probably helped. Yeah, that's.
So it goes back in time, and we're going on 4 or 5 years, and
that's sick. You have like a JAI at this point.
Yes.
That'd actually be, that's kind of cool.
The pirate app.
Yeah. Because of the eye patch.
That's right.
Dang, that could be really useful, man. I've thought we need to put Jay in an AI before. You've already done it, so that's pretty awesome.
Well, anybody can do it. Just grab any transcript, write a script, and throw it.
Yeah.
Create a neurofeedback consultant board consisting of Jay Gunkelman, Joy Lunt, Anthony Ramos, Joshua Moore. Here's everything that they've said, and
that's good stuff.
Let's get the output of them.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, I think we all are. And the more that we can get out into the interweb to get found, to help people find this stuff. Hey, Triona, read this one.
Triona's back. She's been with us before. That's awesome. She's got a question here about, let's see what she's got here. I lost her question. Okay. Sorry, Triona. Give me a second to get back in the chat here so I can see it.
Hey, Triona, where are you from, Triona?
Yeah. So Triona, I can start on Triona's question. Triona says that she's got a patient. That's cool, Virginia. That's supposed to be nice, I'm sure. That's a high class clientele. That is the highest income area in the nation, actually. The neighborhoods, the suburbs of DC. A lot of people don't know that, and it's because of the government contractors. I think it's specifically Fairfax County, Virginia, is the highest income zip code or something in the country. But yeah, so Triona's question, okay, she says true. That's awesome. So anyway, Triona's question, she says, this is a broad question, but wondering, what does it mean when someone with depression, their brain map shows that all their bands are elevated, specifically theta being the most elevated. There's no hertz to reward in the training, and they have trouble with energy. So Triona, I'm speaking from memory because I haven't dealt with a lot of depressed patients yet, but I have heard Jay say that frontal theta is a form of anterior cingulate failure. He calls it a failure mode, and it is associated with, it can be associated with depression. And so I know that there's different schools of neurofeedback, but sort of the model that I'm familiar with is suppressing that frontal theta, along with usually Jay will suppress if there's elevated alpha or beta, suppressing those three and normalizing the function of the anterior cingulate frontally at FZ or so. It can depend where it's at on the map. You may alter it. It may be AFZ, I think Jay will use. But basically, that can help restore the function and eliminate the depression. That is my understanding. So, so I suppose it's not surprising. It sounds like you're not used to using you're used to rewarding things because you say there's no place to reward. There's no brainwave to reward. So maybe you know, I suppose you need to be careful, but I guess I'm curious if your system, whichever system you're using, are they not recommending that you suppress that theta, or have you gotten other guidance on that? Maybe you could share with us.
Look at the NeuroNoodle answer.
We'll see what that's about. When there's elevated theta and there's no stable frequency to reinforce, it sounds like we're dealing with under arousal and low activation across the board. Yeah, I'm not seeing the rest of the answer yet.
It's right there. Read it.
Yeah, it's cut off at it's the last word.
I know. Look on the screen.
Oh, it's coming. It's switched to Triona now for me. Oh, okay. Here we go. I'm looking at YouTube. I got both of us open here. Okay. He recommends AI recommends starting with SMR or CZ, maybe trying left frontal beta up training to build energy. Yeah, so the F3, the training up beta F3, I've heard that being a common, I think Alex has talked to me about that one. That's a common treatment for under-aroused patients. Yeah, I want to, I'm still relatively new, so I want to be careful in responding to you. When I hear someone's under aroused, and I think there are exceptions to this, I start wondering, are they sleeping well? And so maybe that is why the AI is recommending SMR. You know, I start wondering about, this is just me, I could be off base here. Maybe their alpha speed, for instance. I think I've heard that if somebody has a slower alpha speed, that can be associated with some lower arousal, some brain fog, maybe. But you know, I can't. Your EEG is going to tell you the more than I can tell you there about what's going on with them. Yeah, she works with patients with anxiety. Restless leg. Radar asks about, what do you recommend for people with restless leg? And I feel like Jay's answer, and Pete could ask Jay this. He's probably talked about it. Restless legs, I believe, is called a parasomnia, or it's a disease around sleeping, around the act of sleeping. And generally, if somebody has a parasomnia, be it sleepwalking, sleep movement, I've heard Jay prescribe SMR based on an EEG for somebody that had a lot of kicking when they kick themselves awake. So I imagine Jay would suggest you start with a trial of SMR, but could always be off on that, and you have to be careful. So Pete's still posting answers here on AI.
And hey, Triona, what we're doing here is
Yeah,
we're taking what you have here, and then I'm going to meet with Jay in the morning, and we do another show.
Nice.
And we're going to take Triona's question. I'm going to say, hey, Jay, this is what we did. Correct us. And he'll spend 20 minutes on the question to tell us how right we were.
Well, if we're wrong, make sure you don't mention me. But yeah, and I think the PC answer to both Triona and to radar is dependent on the EEG. And I think Jay would say, I've heard him say, when you normalize the EEG, a lot of problems go away. He calls it clearing the brain. So maybe a lot of people, restless legs is their lack of SMR. Maybe that's the case. I don't know if there's a study on that. I don't think there's, but maybe in other people, their restless leg is coming from alpha or beta or theta. So that's the careful answer, I think, that Jay would recommend as well. Yeah.
Let's see. Depression and patterns.
Yeah. Jay has probably spoken on depression before. I don't know if we spend quite as much time on it, but I've probably saved a lot of notes. Yeah, so Triona, I have here that Jay says, I saved an answer of his. He says depression is often left frontal alpha, but sometimes it is right beta. And again, this is all conditional. This is dependent on the EEG, to be clear. Jay says, this is a quote from Jay, depression is not one thing. He says sometimes it is thalamocortical dysrhythmia, which is the frontal slowed waves, which is alpha slowing into the theta. That may be what's happening with your patient. It may not actually be theta, Triona. It may be alpha that is slowed due to it can be genetics, it can be neurodegeneration. But I think Jay, he often cites a paper by Dirk de Ritter that says if you have this frontal alpha that's slowed into the theta range, that is often a sign of what's called thalamocortical dysrhythmia, and it is miscommunication between the thalamus, which is sensory center of the brain, and the anterior cingulate or the frontal cortex. When they miscommunicate, you can get depression. You can also get tinnitus, this paper says. You can have Parkinson's, and there's probably like one other, pain. You can have pain. That's what this famous Dirk de Ritter paper on patients with slowed alpha into the theta range, that it's called thalamocortical dysrhythmia. And Jay talks about that paper all the time. So those would be questions to ask: is this really theta or is it alpha, and the patient, their brain is slowing down? That's my understanding, at least. So
thank you, Triona.
Yeah, those were interesting. I'd be curious, Triona, too. It sounds like you said there are no frequencies to reward, and it sounds like your Z-score system you're using with BrainMaster, it sounds like it doesn't ever recommend that you suppress waves. I'm not familiar with the system, so it's almost curious to me that you're saying that there's lots of extra theta, but the system has not told you to suppress that theta. I think that's a little interesting. I'm not familiar with that system, at least. So
where's everybody else? I'm getting lost in the Q&As here, Anthony.
Yeah, the last thing I see I'm on the YouTube page itself is just Triona saying she would love to hear Jay's connections about depression and patterns. But yep. Good thoughts on that tonight too. So good distinction.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing our best here. So and we will defer to Jay on all these matters and
well, no, we're taking everything down. We use the J-bot already, and now we'll get the live bot in the morning to go over this stuff.
Yeah, and Pete, I would love to hear. I think he would have said it if he had the data, but I would love to hear. So Jay says depression is not just one thing. I have his statement on that.
Yeah.
So I would be curious one day. I think I've even told him this. A listing like depression is 50% is frontal alpha, 30% is frontal theta. I would love to hear the breakdowns if he ever has it.
You're not going to get a breakdown on that.
He's done it. He did it for ADHD. He will tell you because I've heard him do it, but he may not even have it for every disease. Oh, Triona, another thing Jay points out is a lot of things, disorders, maybe including depression, I think he said, can be subclinical epileptic discharges. And the researcher he always points out is named Ron Swatsina, who found that, and he has a list. This was at Jay's conference in Sassoon. Swatsina looked and he found out, 50% of autistics have these discharges. 30% of people with anxiety, 20% of people with ADHD. It's a really cool breakdown. And so sometimes you have Triona, because Jay says epilepsy can masquerade as anything. Epilepsy doesn't, it's called subclinical because it doesn't start, I think it doesn't start a seizure, okay? But it's a spike of energy in the brain. And I'm not saying this is what your patient has. I just wanted you to be aware of it. And frequently, SMR can be a treatment for that, as well as suppressing the high frequency and the low frequency activity, is my understanding. And Jay has treated patients with epilepsy. But Jay will tell you, epilepsy can be, there's something called an absence, or spell absence seizure, and the patient just spaces out. So here everybody thinks the person has ADHD, but what they actually have is a form of epilepsy. And there's something called, I think it's called a complex partial seizure, and it can manifest as like tics, as nervous tics. And everybody thinks you have OCD or you're nervous or whatever, when really you have epilepsy that manifests as something other than a seizure in your brain. Temporal lobe epilepsy, excuse me, Jay has said, I believe, and this is in the research, you can Google this, temporal lobe epilepsy can cause hallucinations. And I know someone who experienced that until they got treated with neurofeedback, actually. So just wanted to get that word out about, sometimes it's subclinical epileptic discharges. So then Radar has a question for Jay here. Yeah, Radar says he would love to hear from Jay about restless legs. Radar says SMR used to make me feel physically calm. Now the only thing so far that's helped his leg are the Sebring-Fisher protocols. FPO2, I think she likes to do theta generally at FPO2, and IZ, which is the Indian. I don't know what she does there. Maybe it's I don't know what she does at IZ. I have it written somewhere. Radar, I was going to say, it sounds like SMR used to help you. You say it used to make you physically calm, but now only Sebring's protocols are helping. And if you remember on the past couple of podcasts I mentioned, I have a friend that SMR always used to help them, but now it's different. And the difference, and now it used to make them sleepy, now it keeps them active. The change all started around the time that they began thyroid medication. And so I'm not saying you're on thyroid, but if you did change anything, and it could just be your training, it could definitely be something you now have too, I don't know, maybe you have too much SMR now or something. But I would just encourage you, maybe just be on the lookout. Have you changed something other than your training that's affecting you? Let's see. We got the JAI answer, guys. Pete has posted. The AI says SMR at C3 or CZ is often calming for the motor system, so it makes sense it helped your restless legs. It says, curious which Sebring-Fisher protocol worked for you. Was it temporal calming, or was it something deeper like alpha theta? Yeah, he mentioned it wasn't, I don't believe it was either of those in his comment. Yeah, he says IZ training, she also raises theta. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, and yeah, I get a little concerned when I hear people raising theta in a lot of places, because I know that so theta is dissociative. It's associated with mystical experiences. Psychedelics spike theta. That's what they're doing. Now, long term, well, if you have a trip, if you take a size, this is from Jay's own research with a company he worked with on PTSD sufferers, I believe. If you take a big enough dose of a psychedelic to hallucinate, the patients, they saw their theta go down over time and their symptoms reduced. And so, but short term, that spike in that theta, it gives you hallucination. So that's, I get a little nervous, but obviously, I've not seen, I can't speak for everyone's experience, and I'm sorry that you weren't getting more help with SMR. Maybe tomorrow Jay will have a good answer. Make sure to listen.
The JAI bot.
Yeah. It's got a lot of questions for him, actually. So he can read it there, but it's asking questions of him.
No, I
It's
got it
interesting
all.
stuff,
I got
man.
it all down. Everybody's questions down. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I'm just trying to see if there was one other thing. I feel like I've glossed over something for Triona or
Did
Radar.
anybody not get their order from the kitchen?
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So Radar. So because, well, you're probably already doing this, but when I heard from Alex that who's been in Jay's consultation groups, that when Jay hears that SMR may be causing a problem, what he'll do is he will get rid of the SMR reward, and he will just often, and it's based on EEG, he will suppress the fast and the slow. So he'll suppress the activity that's above or below that SMR frequency in that region. But again, this is why having an EEG could help you, Radar. And so I'm very, I'm very excited for you when you're able to get it. That'll be really cool, and I'm hoping it'll help you with some of your issues that you're experiencing. So,
any last questions? Whether you get the answer here or not, put it in chat or Pete@neuronoodle.com. Send it on over. Radar says interesting.
The other thing I would say, and I think Radar agreed with this last week, is if a training, just because a training feels good in the moment, I would wait and see how it shakes out, because I have heard now several times from people that are rewarding a brainwave like alpha or theta, and the first few times it feels good, 4 times, maybe it's 10, 20, 30 times, but then now that brainwave gets significantly increased persistently. It's always on, essentially. It's always spiking there. Spiking might be the wrong word. And now they can't get it to go away. And now every time they do that training, it doesn't give them relief anymore. So then now they're stressed out, and the thing they were doing to help, it just makes it worse. So that makes me nervous too, and that's one of the reasons. When I have friends come to me, I kind of tell them, you should at least do neurofeedback every other day at most, because I'm hoping that they will notice if anything is off the next day. If something's doing a treatment effect, giving a treatment where you feel good right 5 hours after you do it, but the next day you're going to feel like crap. Sometimes you won't know that, or I worry that people won't know that if they're doing neurofeedback every day. And so that's another little warning for people. I know it's not good for clinicians because they want to sell 30 sessions and they want the guy to come in 4 days each week for 10 weeks or what, and I get it, but maybe it's something to know if you just think you get side effects to a lot of things, I guess.
Damn capitalists.
Yeah. I don't blame them. I mean, sometimes you got to knock it out. I get it. So, and not everybody's going to have a problem. So,
all right, Anthony, what I'm looking for a good technology group. You know of any on Facebook?
Yeah, maybe we should start a NeuroNoodle group, man. But yeah, science and technology discoveries, neurofeedback exchange is good for like specific questions. I've noticed a lot of people respond, including Jay. And this is to Triona too, and Brainmaster. I get a sense that some people, they don't want to use their real name on these questions, so you can set it to, you can ask questions anonymously on these groups, and so
you can use my name.
You can use Pete's name. There you go. Hey, sometimes the best way to learn is to admit you need to learn. Like I asked a lot of dumb questions early on, and I'm sure I will again, and still do.
If you're the smartest guy in the room, leave the room.
There you go. Yeah. If you're not around people smarter than you, you're in the wrong room is another one I've heard. That's good. So
Radar, thank you. Triona, thank you.
Yeah, it's great hearing from you guys. We appreciate it. And good luck on all your training and your patient, Triona. And Radar.
Jahan, thank you for showing up once again, everybody.
Cool.
Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, depending on everybody's schedule. It's just like a bar. We're having a neuro party. Sometimes people show up, sometimes they don't. But we got all the notes, and we're going to address it in the Thursday show tomorrow. Anthony Ramos, thank you for showing up for another great Q&A on NeuroNoodle Neurofeedback Podcast.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see y'all later.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.